Sarita asked, leaning across the island to inhale more deeply.
El estofado de ternera,
she answered. Sarita murmured, again inhaling the scent coming off the beef stew.
Is not quite time for dinner, but it is ready,
Aletta said, watching her practically drool over the pot.
If you are hungry, you can eat now.
Oh, yes, please, Sarita said at once. Aletta chuckled at her eagerness.
Go out to the dining room, and I will bring it in.
Sarita shook her head. I can eat here. It would be nice to have some company, she added when Aletta frowned. The woman's expression softened then, and she nodded.
Here, then, sit down,
she added, gesturing to the stools on the opposite side of the island from where she was cooking. Sarita wanted to insist on getting her own food and drink, but suspected if she tried, Aletta might change her mind about letting her eat in the kitchen. So she sank obediently onto one of the stools and watched as Aletta fetched her a bowl and spoon and served up the stew.
¿Qué quieres tomar?
Aletta asked as she set the bowl before her. Water is fine, Sarita answered, and then said, agua, as well. Aletta seemed to speak English well, but the way she slipped back into Spanish at times, as she had when she'd just asked what Sarita wanted to drink, suggested the cook might not be fully fluent in the language. She had no desire to embarrass the woman by making her admit it. Picking up her spoon, Sarita scooped up some of the stew, blew on it briefly, and then slipped it into her mouth. It was as good as it smelled, better even, and she moaned with pleasure as the flavor burst on her tongue. Chuckling, Aletta set a glass of water and a plate with a large tequeño on it next to her bowl, and then turned back to her stew. Sarita picked up the fried breadstick with cheese inside and eagerly took a bite. She loved Aletta's tequeños. Honestly, she loved everything the woman had made for her since her arrival on the island 3 days earlier. Sarita was seriously considering trying to lure her away to Canada with a job. She was just trying to work out if she could afford it. Her apartment didn't have enough room to house the two of them. She'd need to buy a house, and then there was the whole immigration issue to worry about. Sarita was just finishing her stew and tequeño when Aletta set her spoon aside again and retrieved a blender from the cupboard. The cook set it on the counter, plugged it in, and then moved to the refrigerator. A moment later she walked back to the counter with an armload of cleaned and pre-cut greens and vegetables. What are you making now? Sarita asked with curiosity as Aletta dropped a good portion of the vegetables into the blender and then moved to the pantry. Aletta backed out of the pantry a moment later with a jar of some kind of powder. Carrying that to the blender, she murmured,
El doctor's bebida nutritiva.
The doctor's nutrition drink, Sarita translated, and stiffened on her stool as she watched Aletta measure out a portion of the powder. Voice sharp, she asked, El doctor's back?
Back?
Aletta frowned at the powder in her measuring cup and added a bit more, shaking it to level it out as she did.
Back from where? He has not gone anywhere for weeks. He is always down at the labs since he took the año sabbatico.
Sabbatical, Sarita translated. Dr. Dressler had told her he was on a sabbatical from the university when he'd called her about her grandmother's falling and injuring herself. And apparently he'd been spending all of his time since then down at his labs, not on the mainland as she'd been led to believe. After Dr. Dressler's call telling her about her grandmother's accident and his fears for her well-being since falls could be deadly for older women, Sarita had immediately booked a flight to Venezuela to check on her. She'd been met at the airport by the head of Dr. Dressler's security team and flown out here by helicopter, only to learn that her grandmother was still in the hospital in Caracas and had not yet returned to the island. She immediately requested to be transported back to the mainland so that she could see her, but had been told that neither the boats nor the helicopter could be used without first gaining Dr. Dressler's permission, and he was not here. Sarita had assumed